Welcome to the finale, finally, of Kicking Anxiety Out. If you're new here, I encourage you, go watch the first 4 weeks. We have talked about anxiety to death at this point, and we are wrapping up this series. We're going to talk about the last 3 forms of anxiety that the book covers, and then we move on to our next series, which is one I'm deeply excited about. Again, though, this is a series where we have learned how to kick anxiety out of our brains and our lives. We've learned different ways to manage it, and we've learned that having it is actually okay. Having some anxiety is okay. It's only when it interferes with our daily lives that it does truly become then a daily issue. Last week we did talk about social anxiety, panic, and panic attacks, and phobias. This week we're going to talk about general anxiety, separation anxiety, and OCD. Again, this is going to be a little bit on the longer side. I will put the timestamps out like I did before, but just as a forewarning, don't watch it all at once because it's just a lot of information to take in and it's overwhelming. Trust me. So without further ado, though, enough of the introduction. I want to dive right into this. So part 1 is called I'm Not Worrying, You Are. And we're going to talk about general anxiety. So anxiety can be a signal to pay attention to so that you can solve a problem and prevent something bad from happening. This is what I meant when anxiety is actually a good thing. But if you suffer from generalized anxiety, you're going to get so many danger signals that you're going to spend a lot of time trying to solve problems that either you've already solved or that are way outside of your own control. When you do have general anxiety, your monkey mind is looking out in the world through binoculars. Small things get blown out of proportion, and we catastrophize. We jump to the worst case scenario. The resulting is that we worry a lot to the point where it's exhausting and actually interferes with our ability to concentrate. Generalized anxiety is maintained by avoidance. We've talked a lot about avoidant behaviors as well. Sometimes it's just worrying because people with general anxiety believe that worrying will help them become more prepared if things turn out badly. This is very true. Or if they worry long enough that a solution will come up that is going to keep them safe. That is true as well. And I say that again from experience. When you worry over things that you've already taken steps to prepare for or things that are again beyond your control, you're rewarding your monkey. And there's no better way to guarantee your monkey will come up with another anxious thought about another scary outcome. It's this cycle of avoidance that keeps the worry going and going and going. It's true that we do need to prepare ourselves for threats and prevent bad things from happening, yes, but anxiety can be a great heads up that we need to do something about something that can be problematic. But once you've done that, cycling through this process over and over again, or what we call worrying, is useless. All it does is feed this monkey and create more anxiety within us. So here are some tools to tame the monkey mind. I'm actually going to try and speed through these because these are ones that we have covered a lot. I'm going to slow down if I encounter new ones, but some of these I am going to just kind of fly through because we have talked about these to death. The challenge with worry is telling the difference between anxious thoughts that are an important signal of a problem needing to be solved and anxious thoughts that are just monkey chatter. So the first tool to tame it is spot the thought. Ask yourself these 3 questions. What am I afraid of? What is the worst that could happen if it comes true? And what would this mean about me, my life, or my future? And before you go any further through this video, I want you to pause and take a moment to spot a thought of your own. Once you've come up with one, you can continue the video. So go ahead and pause it now. Don't worry, the video will still be here when you spotted your thought. Continue when you're done. The next tool to tame it is monkey miscalculations. When you look at everything people worry about, there's usually plenty of evidence of the classic miscalculation, over or underestimating. Whether your monkey is overestimating the risk or underestimating your ability to cope, or both, the result is still the same. So there's 2 other common miscalculations found with generalized worry. Again, catastrophizing, thinking of the worst case scenario. Naturally, this will make you feel on edge, much of the time, and you're going to work overtime to prepare or to prevent from possibly anything bad happening. The other one is the intolerance of uncertainty, again, otherwise known as the fear of the unknown. No matter how the odds are favor a positive result, even if there's still a 1% chance that it could happen, you're going to worry about it. The monkey will assume danger unless there's 100% safety, and because it's impossible to be 100% safe, you will worry endlessly, again, striving for the impossible. The next tool to tame it is alternative thoughts. Before you spend another minute worrying about something, why not take a critical thought that is actually triggering the worry? Look at the evidence. If you look at it as being true, as well as the evidence against it being true, you're going to have a better idea with what you're dealing with in deciding if it's a genuine threat or just noise. Sticking with the facts sometimes mean you will have to dive in to get more information, and it's okay to do your research. You might see it a lot now with the election coming up in 6 weeks, 4 weeks now. It is hard to decide which candidate is the right to vote for, which one kind of aligns with me and in my views. And I haven't done my voting yet. I'm going to vote from home, so I can do it a little bit more safely. But Rhett and Link from Good Mythical Morning and Mythical Entertainment have put together a website called Vote Like a Beast, where they outline all the information for candidates, what they believe in, what they're against, all that, all the way down to who would you elect for a city court judge. And they have it available for our area. So I'm encouraging you, I'm going to use this website. If you're eligible to vote and can vote and are going to vote, go to that website right now, and it will give you all that information that you'll need to take care of it. So my PSA, you're welcome, Rhett and Link. The next tool to tame it is focused attention. Imagine yourself sitting by a stream of just monkey chatter. You could totally be absorbed in all the anxious thoughts that are coming up, but instead you close your eyes and focus inward on your breath. As you breathe in, you notice the sensation and the temperature of the air flowing in. And as you breathe out, you notice that. The breath itself is not what is important, though. What matters is that you are taking your attention away from the monkey. Training yourself to how to focus attention when you're not worried is the best way to prepare for it, and to do it is to do it daily, too. Focusing your attention away from your monkey is powerful because you then get to the present moment where your monkey can't actually go. It's always looking at the past and the future. No matter how many times you're distracted by the anxious monkey chatter, just continue to bring your attention back to the present, and this will help find you peace from worry and learn to tame your monkey. Now let's talk about tools to rule the general anxiety monkey. And to rule it overall, you kind of have to stop this avoidance cycle. The first one is called worry time. And again, the next three are going to be all new, so I'm going to take my time and explain it in as best detail as I can. During worry time, you are in charge, not your monkey. You decide when to worry and to how long. That's right, you are actually going to worry on purpose and for a 10 to 20 minute duration of the exercise, whatever is more comfortable to you. Your worry time should be scheduled in advance, like you were putting it on your calendar as something you're going to look forward to, like, going to the movies when we could do that. But the reason for this is that you will never feel like spending time worrying. It's not going to be fun, but it is going to change your relationship with worrying in a positive way. When your scheduled worry time arrives, find a quiet spot to where you're not going to be disturbed. Turn your phone off, put it on do not disturb, shut your computers off, all electronics go away. Set a timer, so again, that 10 to 20 minute timer. Take your worries and let them go. Just go through them, experience them. And don't stop until the timer goes off. And when you worry as hard as you can, there is going to be a few things that'll happen. You'll become really anxious, and that's okay. This is the time for it. Imagine you're going to putting out a welcome mat for during worry time, welcoming all the anxious thoughts and all the anxiety as possible, without putting up any type of resistance. If you If you begin to feel overwhelmed by fear, shift your attention away from the worry and focus on your bodily sensations that the worry causes. Refer back to all the panic sensations that we talked about. Breathe into that sensation, relaxing your belly. Remember, your breath is always there if you need it. So always, if you find yourself getting overwhelmed, use the focused attention technique. Another thing that can happen is that your mind will wander away from your worries, and mainly it could become boring. This too is fine so long as you bring your mind back to the worries themselves. This is going to happen over and over again, and again, it's okay. The more often you direct your thoughts back to your worries, the better. And this is what worry time is for. This is exactly what this time is designed for. The best thing about doing this exercise regularly is that whenever your monkey mind starts to go off throughout the day, you can tell it firmly that you'll give it your full attention, but only during your worry time. You're going to tell the monkey, shut up, I'll get to you this Saturday at 6. And do your best to continue to do whatever you were doing in that moment, other than worrying. You can even write it out so that way you don't forget to bring it up during your worry time. And this is my recommendation to journal. Jot your worries down real quick, and then at your worry time, pick it back up. Okay, I worried about X on Monday. I worried about this test I have coming up. I worried about my ex getting angry with me. Yada, yada, yada. Remember that worry time, like all endeavors, takes discipline. You're going to need to commit to a time every day and follow through with it. And you may need as many sessions before you're going to notice a change. But with practice, you will find yourself more and more in charge, and your monkey will become easier to ignore. By taking control of when and how to worry, you're depriving your monkey of its usual reward. The last exercise is called the golden rule, and to do this, you need to sit or lie down for 10 minutes, no distractions. Find a private spot, find a quiet spot, and turn your phone off. I want you to start by closing your eyes and breathing slowly through your nose. Inhale deep down into your belly, and when you exhale, say the word relax, or another word or phrase that represents relaxation to you, such as peace, or let go, or it's okay. And I want you to do this 10 times. Now imagine that there's this golden ball of light over your head, and this ball opens up and slowly pours its shimmering golden contents down over you. Stay with me. Bathing your forehead, your eyes, and your jaw. It's like warm honey that melts the tension into your neck, shoulders, and chest. As you inhale, slowly draw this golden light down deep into your belly. As you exhale, keep repeating that relaxation word or phrase that you used before. Let the warm golden light radiate down into your hips, your thighs, your knees, your calves, all the way down to your toes. It is very likely that while you are doing this exercise, your monkey is going to continue to do its job, bringing up worries that distract you. It's okay. When you notice the anxious thought that has you distracted, all you have to say is, "Thank you, monkey." And then bring your attention back to your breath and to whatever part of the body the warm golden light is on. You might find it helpful to listen to music during this exercise. To get the noticeable benefit from this relaxation technique, you're going to need to do it once a day for 6 weeks. You will get better results if you do it twice a day. It seems like a lot of time to dedicate, 10 to 20 minutes to this, but it'll be worth it. Compare that time to actually the few minutes a day where you spend your time worrying, and honestly, it won't be so bad. So to wrap up this section on general anxiety, when you welcome anxiety of not knowing how everything will turn out, you're going to stop the avoidance cycle. The miscalculations have turned your life into a minefield where everything you want to do has to be agonized over, and you deserve way more than that. You deserve the life that you envision yourself, free of senseless worry. Again, that wraps up the topic of general anxiety. We are now progressing to the next stage, which is separation anxiety, or in the section I like to call, "You're never leaving me, right?" Separation anxiety is the fear of being away from a person one feels particularly attached to. When you look at the experience of being separated from a parent or loved one through the eyes of a hyper-vigilant monkey whose total focus is to protect you and keep you safe, you can see where those anxious thoughts actually come from. So some common avoidant behaviors that we see with teens regarding separation anxiety, they avoid ever being alone. They might actually plan their days according to what keeps them around people as opposed to how you really want to spend your time. And avoiding things with friends, they might do that because they are worried about when they're away from the person that they're attached to. So again, how do we tame this monkey? Again, I'm going to kind of fly through this because these are topics that we have covered before. We're going to spot a thought. The first thing I want you to do is think of a recent situation that made you anxious and ask yourself what you were afraid of and what's the worst thing that could happen if it was true. Now understand that the monkey thoughts are very scary and it can be very believable to you, but they're not realistic assessments of risk. That's how you're going to recognize them, by the miscalculations that we've talked about. The miscalculations, monkey miscalculations, aside from over and underestimating, they catastrophize, the worst case scenario. They feel like goodbyes are forever and being alone is just absolutely the worst. It adds this sense of panic and loss of control. Of course, being alone for a while isn't a catastrophe. You've survived without this person before, and even if the worst happened and you never saw the person again, you could learn to live with it. But when catastrophizing is active, you forget all that. If you think your monkey is catastrophizing, ask yourself, what is a more likely explanation? And the other one, again, is the intolerance of uncertainty. We've talked about that a lot. If you find your monkey doing that, ask yourself, what cost am I paying to eliminate all this risk from my relationship? Again, alternative thoughts. With all the anxiety going on, your monkey mind is doing all the thinking and is doing all of that. And with all the miscalculations, it's obvious that thinking isn't what the monkey's good at. So your monkey's great skill is looking for dangers and reacting to them. If you have separation anxiety, your monkey mind is hyperactive, jumping up and down, yelling, what if, all the time. In order to stop the avoidance cycle for that, you're going to need to ask yourself, what else? Not what if, but what else? What else is more likely to be true? And then you can see the alternatives that your monkey can't. So take the time right now to come up with some of the alternative thoughts of your own. Change your way of thinking will help best prepare you for your own monkey chatter. Now, changing your thinking is the best way to prepare yourself for what comes next, changing your behavior. And with that, let's talk about the tools to rule this monkey. Again, we've talked about the life compass before. Write down different behaviors that your monkey has gotten you to believe in order to manage your separation anxiety, and see if those behaviors are actually working for you. After you do that, write down all the things that you would like to do. And are these any of the things are those anything that you would want to fight for? Do you have goals that are important enough to fight for? But facing your fears and changing your behaviors are powerful ways to get your life back. And like most things worth fighting for, is hard work. A new tool that we're going to talk about is the worst case scenario. So I want you to roll up your sleeves and ready yourself for the first piece of hard work, and that's intentionally imagining the worst. That's right, your task is to close your eyes and imagine the very worst thing that could happen in regard to the person or people that you are attached to. To stop the avoidance cycle, you need to imagine the worst and accept it. Don't act on it. Don't check, simply be alone with the idea that terrifies you. In this exercise, you won't be following your monkey's script. You're going to be the director. You're going to write out an imaginary scenario of what you're most afraid of, like a real horror movie. You're going to want a lot of gory details in the script because the whole point is to get you as anxious as possible. To make it sound real, write it in the present tense. Write it in today. Be assured that imagining terrible scenes for the purpose of confronting your fears is no way the same as wanting it to happen. What you're going to do with your worst case scenario is write it out and read it to yourself over and over. You're going to treat this scenario as if it were medicine that you had to regularly take to stay alive. Again, don't substitute this for medicine. This is just a technique. Carve out 20 minutes a day, every day, to read it or listen to it. You can, record it on audio. but do that 20 minutes a day, every day, and read it or listen to it over and over and over. And it's important that you do all this with the right attitude. You are to accept whatever feelings come up and then welcome them with your breath. We've talked about that as well. And the idea is to focus your attention on breathing into whatever the sensation is the strongest. If your stomach is clenching, your shoulders are tense, your hands are shaking, you're sweating, imagine that as you inhale, you're breathing down into that part of your body, making room for the anxious sensations. The point is not to relax, quite the opposite actually. You are allowing yourself to feel the anxiety and then you're surrendering to it. By welcoming the feeling, you are teaching your mind and body that these monkey thoughts are something that you are willing to face. And by doing this, you will be taking back control. You are no longer playing by the monkey's rules, you're playing by your own. So let's move on to the final part in this. This part's going to be a little bit longer. We're going to talk about OCD, or the section I call, I'll do this my own way. So OCD behavior can vary a lot from person to person, from teen to teen, which makes it a little confusing. But once we define OCD obsessions and compulsions, because OCD is, or compulsions, OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder, you're going to see how they're the same problem. So OCD obsessions are intrusive thoughts, images, or urges that you do not want, that cause you anxiety and distress. Even though the thoughts originate in your own head, they do make little rational sense. Obsessive thoughts are generated in the part of your brain that is totally devoted to detecting threats. Yeah, the monkey mind, where making wild guesses is the normal. Most of the obsessions fall into one of these four categories. There's contamination, where thinking you'll catch something or be poisoned by touching a surface or an object, or less commonly, fears of being contaminated by people with disabilities or unlikable characteristics, as if being around them or even thinking about them can make you become like them. The next category is harm or aggression, thinking that you will cause physical or emotional harm to someone else or to yourself. The next one is forbidden sexual or religious thoughts that undermine your identity or your sense of being a good or decent person. And the last category is symmetry or exactness, having a general sense of discomfort unless things are just so, or done in a certain way, or if something seems unfinished. So if your obsessive thoughts don't quite fit into one of these core four categories, it doesn't mean you don't have OCD. The defining feature of OCD is intrusive thoughts that cause anxiety. And that's where the other half of the OCD, the compulsions, come in. Now, compulsions are behaviors with strict rules that make you feel like you must follow in order to prevent the thing you're obsessively thinking about from happening. So these behaviors are considered compulsive due to the strong feeling the OCD suffers in order to do them. They are different from a normal routine, as in they take up more time than you would like them to. So here's some common compulsion categories, like checking things, checking to make sure you didn't make a mistake, or checking that you did not or will not cause harm. There's cleaning and washing, hand washing or showering a certain way, length of time, and number of times, or washing yourself more than ordinarily necessary after going to the bathroom. There's mental compulsions, which are using special words, images, or numbers, or saying prayers in a certain way to prevent something bad from happening. There's repeating body movements like blinking, or rereading, erasing, and rewriting, reviewing things in your mind that you may have said or done. And then there's ordering and arranging, which are lining up things or ordering and arranging your belongings so that they seem just right. If you have a compulsion, again, that doesn't quite fit one of these descriptions, it does not mean you have OCD, or it doesn't mean you don't have OCD. Your obsessions and compulsions, while seem pretty strange, do stem from the same thing all anxiety problems stems from: the desire to keep you safe. Your monkey mind is just trying to do its job and keeping you alive. But what are you actually afraid of? Why are our OCD obsessions so powerful? Powerful enough to make you act out compulsions over and over throughout the day. Although the content of your obsession may not sound like life or death to you or to others, your body is nevertheless in fight or flight mode. Probably about half the thoughts that pop into our mind on a daily basis can be organized into the unpleasant category. having to do with how something could go wrong. If your monkey mind is hardwired to be extra sensitive towards threats, it will view these thoughts as evidence that there is something wrong and that you are in danger. Again, the monkey miscalculation, over and underestimating actually come into play here. It overestimates the threat of something terrible will happen to you or someone you love, or that you will actually act on a destructive thought that you have. It also underestimates your ability to tolerate the anxiety or discomfort that you will feel if you do not do your compulsions, as well as your ability to cope if something bad does happen. The other miscalculation that with OCD that comes with OCD is the intolerance of uncertainty. Again, even if there's a 1% chance something could go wrong, you need to prevent it. Once you've spotted your OCD monkey and its miscalculations, I'm not going to encourage you to do alternative thoughts because your monkey mind's going to cast doubt on it anyways. With OCD, your monkey's intolerance of uncertainty is so high it will cast doubt on your alternative thoughts as well. So the OCD avoidance cycle: random anxious thoughts become obsessive thoughts only when the monkey mind interprets them as important. When it sounds the alarm and you're flooded with anxiety, you do what everyone tries to do with anxiety, and that's avoid it. This is where your compulsions come in. To get some relief from the anxiety, you perform little rituals that either distract you from the terrible thought or give you the illusion that you are preventing it from coming true. The problem is that avoiding anxiety is always, at best, a short-term solution. While you get a few minutes of relief, you are only posting the pain and ultimately making it worse. Why? Monkey logic. You can't reason with the logic of an OCD monkey. Every time you try not to think of an obsessive thought, you trained your monkey that the thought is dangerous. Every time you perform a compulsion to keep an obsessive thought from coming true, you are telling it from coming true that you're telling it. This is why your obsessions get more powerful over time and your compulsions get increasingly complicated over time. The only way you can stop OCD from taking over is to start treating obsessive thoughts as what they are, unimportant. Your compulsive rituals are as what they are as well, unnecessary. So here are some tools to rule the OCD monkey. Life compass. Whenever your fight or flight response is on because of the obsessive thoughts, you've always taken flight. And it's never worked very well because it always seemed better than the alternative. Now is the time to ask yourself, what are you fighting for? What part of your life do you want back badly enough to face your worst fears? So it can be writing down what OCD has taken away from you and how important these things are. If you used your compass and know what your direction is, you know that what you've been doing in the past won't get you there, and avoiding these thoughts won't get you there either. They still pop up, and when they do pop up, avoiding the anxiety they bring by doing compulsions doesn't work for very long either. Obsessive thoughts are only as powerful as you make them by resisting them. The next tool to rule this monkey is a new one. It's called the core fear scenario. On the surface, OCD obsessions can look deceptively silly, even to those suffering from them. But if you dig around a bit, you're going to find underneath them lies a deeper core fear. Unless you understand the core fear, you're never going to get over those anxious, scary thoughts on the surface. To help you uncover this core fear, here are some good questions that you should ask. What am I afraid will happen if I don't avoid my trigger and don't do any compulsions? What is the worst thing that could happen? And what would this mean about me and my life or my future? Once you've identified that core fear, grab a pen and paper, because here's the chance where you can get creative. You're going to write down your core fear scenario. It's a description, like a movie scene, that depicts vivid detail what it would look like if your core fear came true. And it should be as scary as possible, like a horror movie designed to make you, the audience, cringe. Most people with OCD have a very hard time exposing themselves to their obsessions because we've been taught that our thoughts are powerful and can influence outcomes. This is actually not the case with OCD. Your obsessions are the result of a disorder, and you must treat them as such. Remember, the point of exposing yourself to your obsessions is so that these thoughts will lose some of their power. It is the same as if you decided to watch a horror movie over and over again. At first, it might be scary, but after the 50th time, it would probably start to get boring. You need to learn to stop treating your thoughts as dangerous and avoiding them, because that's only going to fuel the disorder. Once you've written your core fear scenario, set aside at least a half hour, or the longer the better, and read it to yourself repeatedly. The first time you read or listen to it, write down how anxious it made you feel on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most anxious. Then keep reading it until your anxiety comes down to by about 50%, or your time is up for that day. And do this the next day and every day thereafter until the core fear scenario rates a 1. This is a terrific preparation for the other half of welcoming your obsessions and not doing the compulsions that come along with them. And the last thing we're going to talk about today is the challenge ladder. You'll be happy to know that I'm not going to ask you to confront every obsession and compulsion you have at once. No. It's important to begin with a challenge that is, with a little courage and good preparation, manageable. And I hope that you'll find the courage to stop avoiding and to welcome your obsessive thoughts and the anxieties that come with them. If you don't feel like you can tackle your core fears or challenge ladder alone, don't be afraid to ask for help. You already know where your compulsions lead to more obsessions. When you stop the avoidance cycle, you're going to be laced with nothing more than feelings that you can actually tolerate. When you welcome your anxiety and allow yourself to feel it, your monkey's logic is going to change. It's going to sound like, you accepted the thought and now you're safe. The thought must not be so dangerous after all. That's the chatter of a tame monkey, the kind that you can live with without giving up your dreams. Of course, there's always going to be that tiny sliver of chance that a scary thought will come true. There will always be that risk in life, though. But I know that living with a little uncertainty is better than living with OCD. And that brings us to the end of kicking anxiety out. I truly hope that over the past 5 weeks that you've really have been able to learn something about your form of anxiety, or just anxiety in general. This book was super helpful to me, not only in preparation for teaching it, but even with my own anxieties. I got to learn a little bit more about what's going on, and hopefully over time that I can start using some of the practices. I do want to say thank you for joining me these past 5 weeks. Next week starts a brand new series called Truth or Dare Revisited. It's revisited because this is a lesson series that I taught about 4 years ago now, and I was excited to want to go back to it with all the new information that I've learned over those 4 years. And I have about the first half of it. It's going to be a long series. It's an 11-week series, but I think it'll be a good one nonetheless. And I just can't wait to get it started. So join me next Wednesday for that. A couple other announcements. Yesterday was the announcement of our Operation Christmas Child shoebox project. So don't forget, come up to the church anytime between 9 and 1 p.m. Monday through Thursday to pick up a shoebox if you want to make one yourself, or go to the web link that's at the top of both of our Facebook pages, both the churches and the Youth and Children's Ministry one, and go to the website and you can build your shoebox. So go do that. Check out the final week of Fall Bible Focus. We're halfway through it right now, and it ends officially on Friday. So check that out. We'll have our first Spooktober stream this Friday at 8 p.m. I'm going to be playing Spooky's House of Jump Scares, which will be fun, and you get to watch me freak out like a little baby because I don't do scares. And then we'll be right back this Sunday with Children's Time. Children's Time is back this Sunday at 9, and then our Youth Sunday School lesson will be back at 9:30. We're continuing our OP Adulting series. And then I will see you right back here Wednesday the 14th for Truth or Dare Revisited Part 1. All right, as always, stay tuned for whatever video comes next, and as always, stay blessed.